Um,
Yes.
how y'all doing?
I mean, it's another victory. Wiggins 30 piece. How you feeling?
Um, the game was kind of sloppy, very chippy game. I didn't like the stupid turnovers at the end, but that is what it is. For most of the game, they were in control of the game. The first half, the defense was super shaky, man. Super shaky in the first half. Um, defense was super shaky in the first half. They kind of tightened it up in the second half. I think they allowed in that third quarter. Let me see. They allowed 21, and then in the fourth they allowed 24, I believe. So they kind of cleaned it up in the second half. The trend has basically been play great defense and in the second half. So it's kind of reverse of roles tonight. You know what I'm saying? But I'll take the win. The Pelicans were playing really hard tonight. They're trying to climb back into it. In the first half, I felt like they kind of let Trey Murphy get going. The their bench. I feel like their bench outplayed our bench tonight. How you feel about that, Bruce?
I wouldn't be surprised. They did a damn good job. And I mean,
Yeah.
no Zion, no CJ McCollum. I don't think I've seen Alvarado, no Herb Jones, and a lot of these no names dudes showed up tonight. So
Mm-hmm.
I respect a lot of. First of all, I respect the coach. You know, that's a warrior guy right there, Willie Green. Most of his tenure there, his main guys have been injured, and so I think he's just like a subpar 500 coach, but he's
Yeah.
done a lot of great things. So I'm really happy that he didn't really like let him go or whatever. But yeah, they played really well. I'm really impressed with Wiggins putting up 30 tonight, and I know a lot of Warrior elitists been wanting to trade Wiggins for a while. And even though I say that a while, I say that every single game, and like I'm trolling, I'm laughing, but it's just funny, man. Like the people who were there, Steve Kerr, Steph, Draymond, for them to still be bought in and know like this guy would figure it out, and to see that, I'm more impressed with that. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
yeah, these games, we got these games all the while where the Warriors should win by maybe 20 points, and it's like it's a battle royale match the entire game, but I don't care about that. You know what I mean? This
Yeah.
is building character. So
Yeah. So I mean, he's played pretty good. I mean, bro, he's playing what 20? He played 28 minutes tonight. That can't be right.
28 minutes is crazy. You
What?
sure? You sure he didn't play 38 minutes?
No, bro. He played 28 minutes. Steph played 33. Steph had some lazy passes tonight, bro. He had four turnovers, but man, like there's
Yeah,
some lazy passes tonight, bro.
Steph
But it's all good.
Steph probably ate some real good Cajun food, and so like, yeah, I don't expect nothing different, man.
But he was getting blitz left and right, though. You know what I'm saying? But I
mhm.
mean, um, he did what he was supposed to do.
I seen Pods do some things that were really well versus what he did like to start the season.
Yeah.
Not I'm not even looking at the box score, bro. I'm just using the eye test because
Uh huh.
box score can deceive you. But yeah, I'm impressed, man. And another fan might look at this game and say, "Well, it's the Pelicans. They're without all their guys. The Warriors should blew them out." But the Warriors are stringing up wins. You know what I mean? Doesn't matter how it looks. They're stringing up wins, and every win doesn't have to be a blowout. Because if you win a championship and you win by 1 point, nobody cares
Yeah.
that it wasn't a blowout. So I'm
Hey,
not that type of
that
guy.
team last year, they're not a bad team, man. They're just kind of banged up. You know what I'm
That's it.
saying? Like,
That's
like,
it.
like, let's stop treating them like they're a bad team because they're just like banged up right now. But last game I watched them against the Lakers, they did play hard. You know what I'm saying? So
That is true. That is
um,
true.
like, show them respect because last year I think they were like a +5 team, damn near. You know, they were really good on defense last year. Uh, uh, they had a pretty good offense, but they're just banged up. I think they're missing who?
They're
They're
missing
missing
everybody.
McCollum,
Yep,
right?
they're missing Alvarado. I didn't
They're
see
missing a bunch of
Zion.
guard play, right? So,
Yeah, Herb
like,
Jones. Like I
yeah,
think this
Herb,
is Trey's first game back. I think so.
yeah, Herb Jones is not playing, right?
No.
Yeah, bro. So it's just injuries upon injuries upon injuries. So, again, Trey Murphy, bro, like, did you watch that man last year? He
Oh my
absolutely fried
God,
us
he was
last
a
year.
dude. Yeah, he was a dude.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
so
yeah. Facts.
that's not a it's not a bad team over there, bro. Like, so they're just banged up. And I feel like, the game tonight though, it was super physical as well. You know what I'm saying?
I'm looking at this stat. Wiggins 9 for 9 from the line,
Yeah.
64% from the field, 60% from three, 100% from the free throw line, 30 points.
Hmm.
The fact that like you can get this kind of production from a player who's willing to go like defend the best player on the perimeter,
Yeah.
and he's not going to be like clapping at you saying, "Yo, pass me the ball." People got to take all those things into consideration. I'm looking at Phoenix
Yeah, because
personally.
he he was out there doing his thing or whatever, but like then you watched him and he was like guarding Ingram, and Ingram was coming off floppies and you saw him chasing over the screen and all of that shit. Right. So his assignment is different, you know what I'm saying? So
Or nah, can
Or
I say something real quick?
the last time before you get that point off, Glorious, the last time I checked, Phoenix has lost 5 games in a row. You know that, right, Erg?
they've lost 5 games tonight. Yeah, that's expected. KD is out. I mean, they don't have much outside of KD, you know what I'm saying? So that's to be expected.
But Irk, they were saying Booker's better than KD, so I kind of
they
don't want to hear that.
there you go, Shadow. I don't got to say nothing
I'm
else.
Shadow,
gonna be. I'm gonna be. No, 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 no.
those are stupid people, bro.
No, brother. We had live arguments, and I'm
That is
arguing
true.
with people, and
That
people
is
said
true. Yep.
Devin Booker is the number one option, and
That
KD
is
is the
true.
number two.
Yep. That's a
Listen,
fact.
listen, those people are stupid people and they don't know basketball. You know what I'm
Anyways,
saying?
let's
So,
not get distracted. Back to the
yeah.
game. Back to the game.
So can I say something real quick?
Go ahead,
Go ahead,
Glorious.
Glorious.
Good rebound by Pods. I think it was a. I mean, it basically helped us win that game. So I got to give him his props. Wiggins balled out tonight. I don't. I expect Wiggins to ball out, but 30 points is still a lot. Steph was having really bad passes and whatnot, but he still had a good game. They were blitzing him, so regardless, he was playing really good defense. They did bail out the Pels a lot down the stretch, but we live with those. I think my biggest thing is I don't know what the bench does. You know, I feel like the bench has a lot of dudes just not doing what they're supposed to be doing. Like, okay, just to give an example. Kaminga came down, right? There were some calls that the Pels they missed on the Pels, but Kaminga came down like twice or three times in a row, went and got a layup and got to the rim. I'm thinking, why is Kaminga not doing that every possession? Why is he settling for jump shots when he has Brandon Boston Jr. on him? Nobody. A little small guard who could go back down and get to the paint. Two, my Pods was in there, yeah, good rebound, bro, but I don't I don't know what Pods does. Like,
Austin Jr. is 6'6". He's not a little guard.
I mean, you know what? You're right, bro. My fault. But there were so many times when he could have gotten to the rim, he just didn't. He just settled for a jumper, and I hate
Okay,
that. I hate
glorious.
when he does
So
that.
First of all, what's up, guys?
What's up,
That was a
man?
very stressful game,
What's good, Shadow?
and
Hello, Gene.
what's going on, guys? It should not have been a stressful game. This is one of the worst teams in the league, decimated by injuries. It should have been a very easy victory, especially given that this is the front end of a back-to-back, right? A game tomorrow against the Spurs, and they've
Exactly,
been playing
bro.
well. And this is not the type of game where a game goes down to the absolute final seconds of the game, right? And I just feel like Steve has reverted back to his old ways. This just was just a reminder of what last season was like. Every game comes down to the wire because you're taking it super casually. You're running the motion for 90% of the game, essentially. The starters and the bench unit. Glorious, you talk about the bench unit not looking well and whatever. Well, they're trying to run the motion offense. It's purposeless. Like nobody. Listen, here's the thing about motion offense. The motion offense requires every single player on the court to be razor sharp every single possession, and every single fundamental of the game has to be sharp at all times, right? And well, that's a lot to ask of your players. You need to mix things up so that the game becomes easier. You get some easier buckets, running some pick and rolls, and this is the one thing that they've been doing an amazing job in the first 10 some games or so. And that's why I had been so excited, if you guys remember, right? Steph Curry going crazy, running high pick and rolls, taking taking advantage of mismatches and things like this. Did we see any of that tonight? No, we didn't. And you know what happens when you take Steph Curry off the ball and use him like a role player the whole game? Suddenly you're in the fourth quarter and you're asking him to be clutch in this clutch situation that you ended up creating because you made the game actively harder for your players and your entire team by doing that. At some point, you got to make things easier. And Steve, by doing this stuff,
Jim,
he cares more
when
about.
he did have the ball, though, he was making some pretty fucking stupid passes. You know
But
what I'm
this is
saying?
what I'm. But this is what I'm saying. You got to make sure he's in rhythm at some point throughout the course of the game instead of running motion all day and using him like a
So you're saying
glorified role
because of the
player.
fact that we were running motion while he's throwing one-handed left hand or left-handed hook passes, bro,
Don't you
like
notice that when
he needs
he
to make
plays
better
the
decisions,
motion,
dog.
he's really casual with the ball. Like he's just not as intense as he should be on offense. Don't you
I ain't
notice
buying
that?
that. I'm not
You
buying
don't
that.
buy that.
He just needs to he just needs to fucking focus and stop being cute with the ball. Like
It's
stop with
hard
the
to focus
one-handed,
when you're
left-handed
not.
hook hand passes. It's dumb.
It's harder to focus when you're not the focal guy on the ball consistently. You're not in rhythm throughout the course of the game, and then suddenly you're expecting him to do that
You
when the
know,
game is on the line.
I'm
That's
not
not
buying
cool.
that. I'm not buying
Jim,
that
Jim,
because
Jim.
he's the
It
greatest
has been a
offensive player that I've
problem.
ever seen. I'm not buying
Well,
that.
everybody has to be in
Focus.
rhythm. It doesn't matter what kind of player you are. You
He's the
have to be
greatest
in
player of
rhythm.
all. He's the greatest
And he's not
offensive
in
player that I
rhythm if
ever.
you use the motion.
He's the greatest
Nobody is in
offensive player
rhythm.
that I've
He'll
ever seen. I'm not buying getting out there and you're seeing them coming at you and you're just throwing like these lazy ass passes. Like,
Facts,
fine.
bro,
facts, Urkel.
Fine. We can agree to
Facts.
disagree on that
yeah.
particular point. But at the end of the day, some of the stuff these struggles are happening because of Steve Kerr's desire and his ideological beliefs about how the game should be played. He cares more about his personal pleasure of how the game should be played over what is actually best for the team. Notice in the third quarter, again, that bench unit is just, if you run that offense, uh, defensively, offensively, they're not good, no matter how you slice it. And then finally, you got Kuminga going downhill, and they're finally playing some pick and roll, and he got into a little bit of a rhythm, and then that bench unit was just good enough to hold the lead. Right, going into the fourth quarter, and that's how they were able to. If they continue to do, at least Steve made an adjustment there. But I'm telling you, man, when you run this offense, like if you're not razor sharp every possession, you're gonna get exposed. You're gonna get
I
exposed, and
mean,
that is horrible because Steve is exposing his
listen,
own
Wasn't razor
players.
sharp tonight.
listen.
He's
They were
exposing his
switching.
own players.
Like,
That's the other team's job, not your own coach's job.
here's my
Okay?
thing too. Here's my thing too. They were switching, right? So that's kind of why they were heavy motion as well. So, you know, I mean, it
They
did
were
not work.
trapping. They were trapping him off every pick and
Yeah, they
You're
were
roll.
telling me,
trapping
let me
and
get this straight. Let me get this straight. The high pick and roll works against the OKC and the Celtics, but it will not work against the Pelicans. This
Jim,
is
I'm
what you're
just
trying to
telling
tell
you
me?
what they were doing
Yeah, he
strategically,
has
my
to be
guy.
more careful. He has
Yeah.
to be more. He was more
Bro, the
careful
Willie
with the
Green
ball
reads the
against
motion offense
OKC.
like a book. He was on this team. He knows exactly what they run, so it's easier for. That's why they were
Do you know that they
struggling.
were trapping
Thank
him?
God.
Like, hold on. Do you know that they were trapping him tonight? That's why
You
half
mean
of
down the
these
stretch of the game?
huh?
You mean down the stretch of the game? Because he wasn't even on the
They
ball. There's nothing to trap
they were
for the
trapping him
majority
for
of the game.
majority of the game. Anytime he got the
There was
ball, they were
nothing to
taking the
trap.
ball
He
out of
wasn't
his
even on
hands.
the ball.
Jim, go watch the film. Every time he got the ball, they were taking the ball out of his hands.
That's a fact, Urkel.
When Daniel Tice was in the game, he literally got a rip through foul on Curry.
Yep.
Listen, man, he just needs to mix it back up. He needs to mix it up. Don't just exclusively run the motion. That was a gigantic problem in this game. And especially for the younger players, like, yo, run some plays where you can maximize their best skills instead of forcing Kuminga to stand in the fucking corner, drop the pass off to Looney, who's getting in his way, when he could just, you know, do what he does best. You're not doing that for him. And then you expect him, and then you're like, oh, why is Kuminga not doing? You're not running anything that's good for him. You're not running any. Like, how many rolls did you see for Trace in this game? It's just
Facts.
motion, motion, motion.
That's facts.
This shit is like, you're making the game harder for your own team, and that's just not fucking cool. You get in line and do what's best for the team. It's
I
not about
don't
Steve Kerr. It's about the
Did Kyle
Warriors.
Anderson
I don't
play
Nah,
think the
tonight?
they
problem
ran some pick and roll.
Did
They
Kyle
ran some pick
Anderson
and
so
roll.
play
I
Come
don't
on,
tonight?
think the
come on, Jim.
problem was I don't think the problem was the offense tonight. I literally think the problem was the defense. Like, if you look at what happened in that first half, they were a little bit like loosey goosey and not sharp tonight. So I would blame it less on what was happening offensively and them not being sharp defensively. So in the second, especially in the third quarter, they kind of tightened up in that third quarter, and then just nonsense in the fourth quarter, right? But I mean, I'm
I agree
Now,
with
fortunate for the
you.
Urkel,
I
win.
agree with you on the notion that they were bad defensively. I happen to think that offense and defense is interconnected. So if you're
Yeah.
running a crappy offense and you're not executing the way you should or could, the other team gets out to transition more, and all these, your defense doesn't get to set as the way it should. And well, those things also make it harder for you to play better defense. But at the same time, they were lackadaisical defensively. And again, part of it is like Steph Curry, the first quarter, it's like he doesn't even like need to be out there almost like you know what I'm saying, like he's just so passive, and it's just Wiggins got out to a really really amazing start. He scored I think 13 points in that first quarter, right? Does Steph Curry and Steve Kerr realize that Steph Curry can also get out to a good start to begin a game to make the game easier for the rest of his teammates too, or no? He just got to come out passive every time and put all the pressure on Andrew Wiggins to be that guy. And if he's not that guy, well, then their offense is struggling, isn't it? That's a lot of pressure to put on your number two instead of the number one acting like the number one that he should be. So this just fundamentally the way they run their offense and it's just really backwards. In my opinion, you run the motion when Steph needs a breather and he wants to take a couple possessions off. You don't run that for the whole damn quarter. That just makes no sense in terms of maximizing the greatest offensive weapon the NBA has ever seen. Okay, so I just have a problem with this, man. You're making the game harder. If you make the game harder like this, you're more susceptible to suffer certain kinds of injuries that you shouldn't, because everything is coming down to the wire, and you have to do more than you should. Okay, there's a lot of trickle effects of doing things like this.
This
There are some other things to get to, but that's just my main thing.
Yeah, so nobody played over 33 minutes tonight. Wiggins played 28 minutes, Draymond 30. I mean, it's fine, man. Like, they were kind of looking ahead because it's on a back to back, and you can tell that they weren't as sharp. And I'm telling you, my problem wasn't necessarily offense, it was really the defense. I mean, like the whole summer we've been
Let's
saying
talk about it.
defense. Yeah, so
Let's talk about it.
we've been saying defense, defense the entire summer. So I mean, I need, and again, it's a long season, but I really need people to lock in defensively, but it's fine because what's been happening is that they've been having great defensive first quarters or first halves rather, and then the
Not tonight. They allowed the Pelicans
yeah
to score 63 points. The fuck? They
yeah
were much better in
so
the second half.
so in the second half they were a lot better, right? So I'm not going to cry too much about that. Uh, but tonight, uh, they just weren't as sharp, man. I mean, the thing about this team, it comes down to turnovers, defense, rebounding, or controlling the possession game. I think in this current NBA, just from watching a lot of these games, whoever wins the possession game pretty much is in control of the game. You know what I'm saying? So extra possessions, you're in great shape. I think they're like top five in offensive rebounds. So they've been doing a really, really good job at that. Now, Pods played a lot better today. Not he didn't really shoot the ball that well, but he played
Yeah,
a
he
lot
played
better. He
good
was a
though.
lot more active
He
tonight.
shot
Hundred
horribly.
percent,
His shot
hundred
was horrid. The
shoot
overall game was great,
shooting
but
shooting
that
shooting
three-point
is
shooting is a problem right now.
shooting is one thing though. What's my guy's name? Jim Park. My fault. Shooting is one thing, man, but he did look better tonight. He didn't look
Yeah.
like he was pressing
He
the
was great.
forcing
He was
anything.
great.
Yeah, yeah, fact.
Yeah, but when you're 0
Yeah.
for 5 from the 3-point line, once again, like he really needs to get in the lab and fix that situation because this is bad. I
I
believe in
can't
him
believe
though. I
people
believe
were.
in his
I
shot
can't believe.
because
I, yeah.
he he shot 44% in college. He shot 38% last season. He shot 40% for a chunk of last season before dropping
Yeah,
it
I think it's
to
just pressure, Jim.
38%. So I believe it. I believe that his shot will come around. But in the immediate future, I think that he needs to be in the starting lineup. I don't think that Lindy Waters I don't think he's forceful enough from an offensive standpoint. I think he's mediocre defensively. He's a
Well,
good fill-in player when the Warriors have
J
an
Wait,
Close is
Jim,
injury
game.
you
J
situation.
saying
Close,
you'd like
Jim. J
He's
Pods
a
Close
on
with
good
defense?
depth
Pods though.
piece.
You like
Jim.
Pods
J
on
Close
defense
with Pods.
over Lindy Waters?
Oh my God, Bruce.
No, no,
100%.
Oh
I'm just
my
asking.
God.
I'm just
Lindy's
asking. I'm
defense
just
is
asking.
mediocre, man. Like I'm disappointed, to be frank with you. But I'm ultimately he's the what 14th man or something like this. So I'm happy with the fact that he's a great
Well,
depth piece, right?
14 man is
But
starting.
but
Jim,
Starting
Jim,
role.
Pedro, you know, a lot of these coaches, they're very superstitious. So if the Warriors didn't lose a game with him in the lineup, chances are he's not getting moved from the lineup. I just want
well, he
everybody to
got
know that.
benched. At the end of the day, he wasn't good enough. And Steve, he trusted Lindy the last game, and he tried him in this game. It wasn't good, and he got replaced. That's what you get replaced for a reason, right? Same thing with Trace. Late in that fourth quarter, he wasn't good enough, so he ended up getting replaced. He needs to be more forceful when he's on the floor, and he needs to be more aggressive. You know, there were some switches there, and like he had some mismatches, and he just wasn't taking advantage of it. And well, if you can't be aggressive enough, I still feel like you should replace him with a center rather than GP2. I think that when you don't have any screeners, except for Draymond, like you need two screeners. That just makes the game so much easier. And obviously, if one of them is a finisher, that's fantastic. But some of the stuff that is from a rotational standpoint, I think Pods maybe should start and then come out at the 6 minute mark so that he can stagger. Right as Steph Curry comes out, he can come back in to man the bench unit or something along those lines. I think he's best suited to be in the starting lineup in terms of the motion offense and all the things that entail in terms of running that damn thing, right? And I think he's the best one to be able to do that at the combo guard spot. Now, I hope you guys see what I'm talking about with Lindy. Like he's a great depth piece. I don't want to talk badly of him, but to have him as a permanent starting shooting guard for this team, especially against the better teams in the league, I'm not buying that.
Yep.
Hey, y'all hear
Everybody.
me?
What's up, Swish?
So, um, that second unit today seemed to struggle a bit, like when it came to creating shots. It didn't seem like they had anybody there that could really get things going. I don't know if Pods and Kaminga were deferring to each other or whatever it was, but there didn't really seem to be much ball movement going on. And obviously, you saw that with the first unit. A lot of ball movement. Obviously, Steve Kerr's offense is predicated around getting the ball around and guys moving off ball. If you can't move off ball, uh, this is going to be a really tough team to play for. So I noticed that they really struggled to create anything when the second unit was out there. And a couple possessions, guys ended up just, going a little ISO or, well, the shot clock's running out. Let me hoist this up. So I saw that happen a couple of times. Kuminga struggled to get into rhythm. He had a rough time with that. I think I was expecting Pods to do a bit more of a creation or maybe get the ball moving or get got, but I guess you can't make the guys move on the floor, right? So that was my biggest gripe is that guys were just kind of standing around. I didn't like that. Um, as it got in, they allowed Nola to score 63 points. That was the most points they scored all season in a half. I'm kind of I don't like that happened against the Warriors. As a matter of fact, I'm after looking at this game, I honestly can't tell the difference between this game and the game they played against the Clippers. Like everything seems so similar. The results, the only difference between this game and the Clippers game, all right, is that the Warriors shot their free throws better. If they shot their free throws like they did against the Clippers, this would be a loss for the Warriors.
Oh yeah, if
So
they played a good team, they would have any good team they would have lost tonight.
yeah, so it was not a great showing whatsoever, and I hated that you're talking about basically backup NOLA players like they're missing CJ McCollum, Zion Williamson, you know uh, big
Herb
production
Jones,
guys, right? Or Jones,
Alvarado,
yeah,
like what the fuck, man? They're missing
Alvarado,
their whole damn roster.
yeah, nobody was playing really, aside from Ingram and Trey Murphy. And I'm sitting here like, all right, this should not even be a close game. I was expecting this to be, a definitive. stomp the yard, kind of, knock these guys out and then get on with it. But they really had to have Steph Curry and him come back in the end of the fourth quarter to try to close things out, and it went down to the wire. You don't want these games on the front end of a back to back. All right. When you get those on the front end of a back to back, I think you go into the next game possibly with less confidence, and guys are going to be more tired because you're thinking, you know, if you struggled against a team like the Pelicans, as unhealthy as they are, using the Warriors, yeah, obviously missing D'Anthony Melton, but that shouldn't really be an issue. And a thing that confused me was like down the stretch, like we kept going between Potts and Moody and GP2, and I'm like, what are we doing with that two guard spot? Because we switched like 4 or 5 times now. I know we switched Pods in. I think that was for defensive purposes. He took Buddy Hield out, but I'm trying to understand, like, are we going to allow these guys to really get comfortable out there on the floor, get a feel for the game, and kind of understand where they places with the unit, or are we just going to expect them to adjust in 10 seconds and figure it all out so that they can stay in there for a longer period?
Well, that's a
So
part of the problem with running a 12-man rotation is that everybody has to freaking play. And that just doesn't give enough rhythm for certain guys to feel comfortable enough in a closing situation like that, where you understand the pressure, right? The level of
Mhm.
pressure in late games where the game is on the line, it's different. And players, you have to be in rhythm to be able to close a game and feel comfortable enough, right? And
Yeah.
well, if you didn't get enough minutes, if you didn't get enough playing time, and if you didn't get, if they didn't run anything for you to get into rhythm for that situation, then what the hell?
Yeah.
I
No,
definitely
absolutely.
agree. I definitely agree with what both of you guys are saying. And I also feel like since losing Melton, we have like a lot of tool guards that specialize in like different types of things. Like Dre talks about this all the time. Like Moody, he has a long wingspan, he's a big body. Lindy is more of like a shooter type thing. And then we have GP2, a defensive anchor. So when you split like different like key points into like three different people, it's kind of tough.
You see what it is that they're incomplete players. That's why I haven't been suggesting, Buddy in the starting lineup or Moody in the starting lineup and stuff like this. I try to find a hierarchical order based on their the overall completeness of their game. And that's why I'm suggesting Pods, because he's the closest one. The only thing he has to get right to make them great is to, or make them great until they do something about that, because you don't want to go into the playoffs with Pods starting at your shooting guard spot, right? There's nobody in that on the Warriors bench right now that warrants getting 30 minutes per game, 30 plus minutes per game in the playoffs as a starting shooting guard. You know what I'm saying? The playoffs is different. They get into more ISO and hunting for mismatches and stuff like this. And well, if your shooting guard spot is weak, that's going to be a giant problem come playoffs. So that's why I was, advocating for them to look for somebody, to trade for somewhere along the way, because this isn't going to be good enough. You have to think long term. We don't have to harp on it too much, but you can see in a game like this where it becomes very problematic.
Yeah. I'll touch on that in a little bit because I know you posted on the DiVincenzo availability, and I was thinking about it as well. But before I get to that, with the 12-man rotation and getting these guys in and getting these guys out, you now have an incredible amount of different permutations of different lineups that Steve Kerr could put out there. So these players, it's almost like they have to learn how to play with every other player. You almost have to learn to play with two different teams instead of learning how to play with maybe one team or a set of guys that will allow you to be the best version of yourself. And I think there's going to be some struggles with that. And while it can lead to a bit of unpredictability for when other teams have to guard you, like when other teams have to scout you, I do think it poses a bit of a difficulty for your players themselves to be able to acclimate to that and be able to do that quickly. So I understand that. But like I said, it's just looking at this game and comparing it to the Clippers game. I think we need to do better. that would have been a loss. And this is coming against teams that are not very good.
I got
Um,
one more pointer, man.
yeah,
Um, so the Warriors, the way they, the types of lineups that they're putting out, Steve has to remember how they were able to win that Rockets game. Okay, remember when they blew that 30-point lead and it ended up going to overtime without Steph Curry, right?
yep,
And how did they end up winning convincingly in that overtime? They went big. They went Looney. They went slow mo, and they went JK. Okay,
yep.
I don't know why he stopped doing this. I don't know why he's staggering slow mo and Looney, but whenever they go bigger, they get better results from a defensive standpoint. And so bigger generally for this team yields better results. Their small lineups I I just don't see a lot
The
of advantages, man.
Yeah,
You lose something major whenever you do this stuff. And I just and again, same thing for Kaminga, that second unit. It's like let him do what he does best. Let him allow him to be the primary scorer, and you got multiple screeners, on the floor as well, and that will also help his game. And instead of playing him at the four and then playing like Moody and Buddy together, there's very little chemistry there. Defensively, it's just not good enough. Their reaction times are generally like poor as a team, and it's just not good, man. So at
yeah,
least organize your defense, and well, if you can do, and you can see that the Rockets are one of the better teams in the West now, right? So that was no
yeah.
fluke that they made that run, and the Warriors were still able to beat that team despite not having Steph Curry in overtime because they went bigger. The other team could not score on that unit. So
But
if they want to be more dominant defensively, just go bigger, man. That's all I
so
got, man.
they were doing that right before when they would close with that unit with I think Wiggins, Curry, Kaminga. When they didn't have Curry, obviously they went otherwise. But like they've used that starting lineup, and they've had JK in that closing lineup with JK in it, that big closing lineup. They had success with that, so I don't know why Steve Kerr has gone away from it. It doesn't seem that he's used
That's
it in
what
the
I'm
past.
saying, bro. The guy he is reverting back to all the stuff that makes it harder for this team to win.
Yeah,
Today wasn't about big lineups though. They were giving out straight line drives. Like big lineups is not helping that. That's not what today was about, buddy.
Okay,
talking about
Cuddy.
the I'm talking about the
Nah,
closing
but
lineup.
this guy, I don't know. He keeps saying Steve, but it wasn't about big lineups. Like if you were watching the game in the first half, a lot of guys were getting blown by. Like that's not, and they were in rotation. A
Yeah.
big
If you
lineup
have
is not
better
helping
paint
that.
protection, it's less likely the other team's going to get whatever they want in the paint, man.
It's not
When
Exactly.
you have a
about that
small ass
though.
guy
It's
at
they were
power
in
forward that's not a
rotation.
help defender, your defense is going to be worse in the paint, man.
They were in rotation. That's not about being big. That's just being slow on the perimeter. They were in rotation. There's a big difference.
So either way, interestingly enough, um, that DiVincenzo availability that kind of cropped up on the timeline today. I was curious what you guys thought of that.
Yeah,
DiVincenzo had
Urkel. Any thoughts on
experience.
that?
Yeah,
Say what now?
The Dante DiVincenzo kind of being disgruntled in Minnesota and him possibly being somebody that the Warriors could potentially look at as a Melton replacement.
What's his number? $10 million? 11?
Yeah, he's like 12,
He's
12 per year,
he's
11.
something
right
like that.
Yeah,
under
12,
he's
13.
11.3.
That's a
eleven
great
It's
four
close to
forty
number.
Melton,
five,
basically.
That's a great
just
number
under 11 and
because
a half.
he shoots threes and he's a Swiss Army knife. So um I'm not against that.
He could kind of fit the
Yeah.
Melton role, but not to the same degree, but somewhat
Yeah.
Why
close
wouldn't
Yeah.
it be
to it.
to the same degree? He might be better than
Because
Melton.
I don't
Well,
think
he's
he's
not the
as
same
good as
level
a
of
defender.
POA
Yeah,
as
yeah, he's
Melton.
not the same defender, but they could. I think they shoot similar, or he's a little bit better.
Did you watch
But
him shoot the ball last
the
year?
defense is not the same. No, no, yeah, I did. That's what I'm
He
saying. I
was
think I
Melton
think he's
before
either
Melton.
the same or a better shooter, either way.
Yeah.
But defensively, he's just not the same. That's the only thing. But he's still a good defender, I think, in my opinion.
I think D Melt is a little bit better of a defender, but other than that, DiVincenzo is a better shooter than Melton.
And
I think he's
he was
a.
he was self creating last year too. I don't know if you guys were
I
watching
think
that. He was
overall
self
he's a
creating.
better player. I mean, I loved it when he was here. He
Yeah.
he did everything, and I mean, when Wiggs was out, remember he was in that starting lineup, and
hmm
I like what he was doing. I just think
We
like,
just have to watch what he did in the playoffs with
yeah,
the Knicks. Like he was the second best player. Like what are we
Yeah.
even doing here?
yeah.
He was dropping
I
20 every
seen
single
people
night.
started
He's
bringing up
so
the
super
20.
reliable.
I seen people bringing up the 23 playoffs with us when he kind of struggled, but I was like, bro, that was 2 years ago. Our team wasn't as good. That was his
No,
first
last
playoff
year
with
with the
us.
Knicks,
Like,
bro, he was the
I
second
know that's
best
what I'm
player.
saying.
Like
Anytime
every
I
single
seen that, I was
night,
like, bro,
and not just for a couple of games. Their entire playoff run,
hmm
every
I
single
think
night.
you can make a case he was the best player behind Brunson, and I don't even think
Yeah,
that's like
I
he
think
not even
was.
a
people tend
thing.
to
He had
forget.
multiple 20-point games. He was guarding the best player. Like he was doing his thing.
Yeah, I think people forget that DiVincenzo wanted to be in a starting role. He didn't want to be pushed back, and I think when he went to the Knicks and he wanted he was getting that role. He was happy with it. You can see that when the Knicks were thinking of bringing him off the bench, he wasn't happy with that. He got traded. Minnesota wanted to do that. He was not happy with that. He wants to be a starter. I think he knows that he deserves to be a starter in the league based on how he's played. And I think that started before when he was with the Warriors, when Klay Thompson came back. And I'm sorry, Klay wasn't playing very well, and Dante had to come up behind Klay Thompson. So I think he started even before then when he was like, you know what? Clearly, this organization doesn't really see the value in me at this point, or I'm not the guy, kind of. And so he took a back seat, in a sense.
So Swish,
Is that
Swish,
yeah?
would you be okay with Dante coming back?
You know, at the first glance, I'm like, yeah, I definitely would want to
Because
see.
his number is not a bad number. I mean, that's a great number for him.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right.
Second time's the charm.
I'm just wondering, and I don't know if you guys remember when I was very iffy about D Melt with his injuries, because I was like, man, I love D Melt in the starting lineup, but I feel like this guy is not gonna hold up, right? I was kind of giving him maybe through the end of November, maybe even December, and his knee started acting up. So with my concern with DiVincenzo is if he's not happy with his role, he might not feel too great about it. And I think unless Steve Kerr commits to having him as a starter in that spot, that could create some issues. And so,
There's
that
no
would be my
issue.
only
There's
thing.
nobody that is worth more as a starting shooting guard for the Warriors currently than Dante, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that the answer is right there.
He has a great
I,
number. I think he signed what, 4 years? It was like 4 years 50 or
50
5 years 50 or
mil.
something like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so he's on a great number. I mean, there's some expiring contracts on the team. When you trade that
Yeah.
contract, we're gonna have some interesting conversations. But I mean, he's not he's pretty good. He's pretty good. Now with Dante, why is he unhappy, by the way?
Because he's coming off the bench and he was in a great situation with the Knicks and now he's, you know, kind of
He's not getting the same he's not getting the same
But
opportunity he was in New York. That's why he
the,
has
he's shooting
yeah,
like
He's
shit
behind
too.
he's
Or is it
behind
because he's
He's
not
behind
playing with Stephen
Randall.
Curry?
Maybe
he's playing behind Edwards, man.
he's playing behind He's playing behind Randall. All these guys, bro. He's not getting the same
And
opportunity
that
at all.
whole
Yeah. And
Timberwolves
what
thing
type of
is
player is
imploding.
Edwards?
So hold on, hold on,
hmm
hold on. So
I just think the dynamic in the Timberwolves have changed, and that's causing a lot of problems in the locker room,
Yeah,
and that's probably
the
why.
other day they were
Yeah.
having problems with the fucking Raptors, and nobody go throw a temper tantrum on the freaking court.
Yeah. I mean, you see,
Basically,
It's
I think
bad over there. It's pretty bad.
basically, hold on, I'm gonna let you go. Basically, a translation is that their 10th seed, he's unhappy, he wants to go to a contender. That's basically
Mm-hmm.
what it is.
so hold on, that team's not a contender.
dude, they
They
fought
are,
so
but
hard.
Shit, I mean,
they
They got
are, but
chemistry
they have
problems. You see
yeah,
that?
they have
You see
issues, bro.
Gobert being mad at Randall and shit.
And I was told that Randall was gonna make them better than Cat, and I was like, yeah, okay, bro, whatever it
Julius
The
takes.
Randle was great.
moment,
hold on. Julius
I
Randle was gonna
see.
make one of the most efficient. You know that cat's
Yes,
like one of the most efficient bigs of all time,
Yes,
right?
yes, bro. Trust me. Yes, I know. I was looking at people crazy when I seen some of the people on Twitter saying it was, oh, it was a win trade for Minnesota.
A win trade,
Hell
like,
no.
bro. When people were saying that, I was
Hell
like, "Are you
no.
smoking crack?" Like,
It's because they wanted to commit to Nas Reed, and they have to do something
Hmm.
about Randall. I think they might like try to move him or something because obviously it's not working out for them in
People
terms of
seem
them
like
dominating the way they did last season.
they should get
yeah,
that was a
Randall.
bad trade on both
They
sides.
should get
non
Randall up
passer,
out of
bro.
there, bro. Like with quickness at the deadline if they could. But I mean, I don't know why they couldn't just start Nas. But like I said, all of these teams that people were just boosting up and they're this and they're that. I told y'all they're not that good. Uh, what we
Yo,
got
the what
right
the
now, and it's funny because I look at this team now and it's like, you know, we're what 12-3,
bro, the West is
Hmm.
so free. I feel so comfortable in the West
bro.
right
All
now.
we got to do is stay, bro. All we got to do
Don't
is
be too
stay healthy,
comfortable.
dog.
Yeah,
All
you
we have
can't
to
be
do
too
is stay
comfortable.
healthy, and we're there,
That's where
bro.
you gotta be,
Because
bro.
I'm
What
telling you,
what Josh said? I'm fine in the West, man.
bro.
Nah, and like what happened to him that year?
Hear me out. All you have to do is to stay healthy. You know what I'm saying? Stay healthy.
Hmm.
Let's get to the playoffs in one piece. Let's get a decent seating, and we're gonna be Gucci, man. I'm telling you because I watched Minnesota execute in the playoffs last year, and I and there's no way that shit's beating us in the playoffs. Absolutely no way. Not in the playoffs. We can talk about like these one-off nights or whatever, and but it's I think we're good, bro. Like get the ball moving again.
Bro, in the
Lock
playoffs,
up on defense, and we're good.
Gobert's pretty much unplayable in the playoffs, bro. I hate to
Yeah,
say it, but
bro.
trust me,
Like
bro.
all of these teams.
His team's
So
unplayable, man.
so well, when I look at this season, right? Chet has a hip injury, right? A hip situation is not something that you necessarily want to play with. I doubt he comes back this season. You know what I'm saying? Just based on his frame, just based on the fact that he's a big, just based on the fact that people like him always have foot problems. You know what I'm saying? So I don't expect him to come back this year. It's a weird injury, and you just never know it's the hips, right? And then they got Harkenstein in there. That team is not beating us either, bro. I'm sorry. Um, just get us to the playoffs in one piece.
John Morant has a hip thing too.
Yeah, bro. Like hips, I don't trust, man. Hips and backs, I don't trust. Um, I watched Ben Simmons blow a layup tonight, bro. Like when I tell you, remember when he wanted
Oh,
to
that
trade for
man
Ben
is
Simmons?
terrified. Yo, people was on the timeline saying Draymond for Ben Simmons, bro.
Come on, bro.
Are you fucking
Yeah,
kidding me?
yeah, yeah. Now aren't we happy we didn't make that trade? I mean,
Are we sure it was Draymond's they want to trade him?
yeah.
I
Bet
heard
for who?
Well,
Wiggins
It was
Draymond's
too.
hitting
it
threes.
was
Ben's
Wiggins,
not even
bro.
taking them.
Fucking
So we're
serious,
good.
bro.
We're
Somebody
good
said
with
Wiggins for Ben Simmons.
Jim.
Never talk
That's
back. Never
so.
talk Warriors basketball ever again. What the fuck? Come on,
meanwhile,
man.
bro. I just
meanwhile,
think Ben is he's a
bro,
lost case, man. He's done, bro.
I had people on the TL mocking POA, and I'm like, okay, like POA is kind of one of the
Boring.
most important things in the league right now. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
The Lakers are literally bad because they don't have POA. They have
Hmm.
nobody that can guard ball. And I seen the tweets, man. People are mocking POA left and right, but it's sort of important. And if you look at what was happening tonight, people are just getting blown by left and right. POA is the answer to the league, bro. Like the gentleman Mohammed came up here earlier, and he was like POA in rotation. That's literally what the NBA is about, right? So if you can limit the rotations that the defense has to make, you are going to be a top five defense. That's pretty much what the damn league is now. Drive and kick, get the defense to rotate. That's all that Boston does, right? So when you when you watch why we play Boston well, they don't get us in rotations all like that. Draymond is a Draymond breaks up these plays before they even happen half the time, and then the work that Wiggs and GP and all of these other guys do. So, I mean, uh,
Wiggins is not getting gamed by Franz Wagner,
yeah,
by the way.
exactly. Like,
Yeah.
so you can
And
guard
their two
guards, you
best
can
players
guard
missed
the
Horford,
wings, bro. this is what the thing is about, bro. Like if you can guard like the lead ball handlers and muck up the offense, and next thing you know, you got dudes going isolation, bro. That's what the league is about, man. I mean, it's not about bigs, and bigs help, bro. Like you need somebody to bruise down there, but I mean,
Stop talking about Jonas Valanciunas as a possible
yeah,
whatever for the Warriors. That guy is rooted to the ground. He cannot guard in space, and he's not a rim protector. All he does is rebound and score in the paint. He's not a stopper. So why would you ever ask for a player like that? All right? If you truly want to talk about bigs, like talk about the real ones, like a Robert Williams or something. All right,
yeah,
somebody
That's
brought
really
up
the
Nick
only guy.
Richards. Like, I
I
mean,
think
these
that's
are
the only
names
real
that can
option.
actually defend at least, right? Don't talk about Jonas Valanciunas. For the love of God, that is not a championship caliber piece.
yeah. There's
Hmm.
a reason why he hops
Why are we
around a
hearing
bit.
trades right now? Like, what the hell? What the hell are we doing?
People love trades, man. I mean, they love transactions, and you know, uh, I get it. It's exciting, man. I mean, you get a few
Well,
transactions going.
for a long term
I mean,
conversation, it's obviously worth having, right? Or are you
yeah.
still convinced that Lindy Waters is going to give you 30 plus in the playoffs?
And when you see a guy like
Hey
Dante
Jim,
DiVincenzo come on the market,
What up?
it's tough
hey
not to.
Jim,
What up?
Ricky G's tired of your curse slander.
Shocker. So anyway, yo, remember in the beginning of the season, like how Steve was talking about Andrew Wiggins look like the second best player on the roster, and like he looks incredible. He's going to be the second option and all these things.
Yeah,
But something happened, and he missed some time, and right, so he came in a little bit out of rhythm. But I feel like whatever they were seeing from Wiggins as the training camp began is
yeah.
like what we're getting now. Like he is really getting in the flow of this. He looks better than ever, man. Like
I
this is
mean, if
vindication, man. This is such vindication for him.
if people come to playback, I mean, we can we can damn near put you in there. You know what I'm saying? We we kind of told a playback. By the way, playback.tv/space gang. We were telling people that like August, September, how how he was the mini camp that they had, that went well, really well actually. They training camp, he was a bit under the weather. He was wearing a mask and shit. So um yeah, I what Wiggs is doing is not a surprise to me. Like last year, I know what was going on with him from a injury standpoint and the type of injury that he had and the recovery time. So it's not, he was behind the eight ball because of the injury last year. It's really that simple. But this year he looks better than he's ever looked. I mean, it
Perfect two way.
bro, at some point, like the athleticism is going to match the mind. You know what I'm saying? And I just feel like he is in that zone, right? Where he still is a uber athlete, and he's just thinking the game on a different level. You know what I'm saying? And another thing too, he is an NBA champion, right? And I feel like what people were doing over the last couple of years is like they were poo-pooing the fact that, hey, by the way, this man felt championship pressure. You know what I'm saying? And you cannot buy that. You know what I'm saying? Like you cannot experience that anywhere. So like if a guy wins a championship, that means that he's experienced pressure that 90% of the league has not felt before. You know what I'm saying? So that means something, right? We talk about championship moxie, championship experience, however you want to describe it. That means something, right? So we have championship guys on the team: Draymond Green, Steph Curry, Kevon Looney. There's some championship guys that we have on the team, guys that have felt championship burn, right? So that means something, and I don't think we have to take that into consideration some of the times when we're saying we should trade Bobby Portis for Andrew Wiggins. Like, bro, like the league is about guarding the fucking ball, dog. Point of attack, uh, guard up, and then keep your friggin' defense out of rotation. You know what I'm saying? Jalen Brown and Jason Tatum were just trying to isolate themselves over us, and we just clamped them up. I mean, that's pretty much what it came down to. And if you look at what's happened subsequently after that, we have done an amazing job on the Celtics. You know what I'm saying? That's still one of the better teams in basketball, right? And the thing is going to come down to point of attack, right? So Tonight, Wiggs had a pretty good game. But it's not anything that I don't expect. I mean, before you had Clay Thompson, you had Jordan Poole, you had Wiggs. There's a ton of guys that he had to share possession with, high ego, high attempt guys. You know what I'm saying? So now what he's doing now, he's just getting more opportunities, bro. He had like 30 points in 28 minutes. That would never happen before.
9 of 9 free throw was huge based
Yeah,
on how the game ended. Oh my goodness.
yeah.
Huge.
So
9 of 9 free throw? Wow.
and if you notice, he's been getting to the line like a demon. He's way more aggressive. Last year I was watching him and he was favoring his ribs and shit. Like this year, he is way, way, way more aggressive this year. Like he's going to the rim and he's drawing contact and he's doing his thing and he's playing. And most importantly, here's the most important thing: he plays within the flow of the offense. That's the most important thing. It's not like you have to give him the ball,
Yeah.
and he's just gonna go isolation every time. He can do that. I think Kaminga can do that. Think Steph can do that. But I think, when you play within the flow of the offense, other opportunities, whether it be playmaking, whether it right, like playmaking, what you just open up playmaking, free throws, all of that. You just open up more when you play within the flow and you utilize Steph's gravity. That's pretty much what it's about. It's about Steph Curry utilizing Steph's gravity and defense, right? Because I was reading a stat the other day, and I think the Warriors are like number one in paint points or some shit like that. That's amazing. That's Steph Curry. So Steph Curry and defense, that's pretty much what it comes down to.
Yeah.
No, I
Make
definitely
sure they
agree
get
with you.
another one.
I feel like your point about having that championship pedigree and that playoff long experience
Yeah.
is something that we should definitely factor more often because you have two different type of Warrior players. You got a Harrison Barnes and then you have an Andrew Wiggins. People wanted to twerk for Danny Ainge. They wanted to throw the parking lot for Laurie Markkinen, and he struggles in the regular season. Imagine what that would look like with his like first serious playoff run, first finals run, first like come on.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh,
bro,
let's not do
like,
that. He's a super legit player. If you put him in this Warrior situation, he would be amazing. Let's not
He
get
would
that
be
twisted,
amazing, but he would be amazing, but to throw the parking lot,
yeah, I
What
Nah,
agree.
Danny
parking
Dak.
Ainge
lot?
was
They
asking
didn't
for
ask
way
for the
too
parking
long.
lot. They asked for young players. They didn't even did they even ask for Andrew Wiggins? I don't think so.
Dax or Kaminga or Pods and a bunch of
And
Yeah,
a bunch of
thank you.
picks.
I don't think that was a bad ask.
Well, they also throw in like
You're willing to give up a now player for future
they have to
players.
throw in a
Like,
shit fuck ton of
the
draft
only
picks
reason
though.
why they
come
didn't
on.
get it done is because they didn't want to give up odds. That's
And by
really
the
Well,
what
way,
it was.
well,
just
no,
because
that's
Urkel
not.
mentioned
Well, no, they didn't want to give up draft picks. That's
just
also
be,
a fucking.
Yeah,
just
that too.
because
That
Urkel
too.
mentioned Bobby Portis before, this is not to say that Bobby Portis wouldn't be a nice piece for the Warriors. Just don't mention Andrew Wiggins as a part of the deal. Then it's a non-starter. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, that's where I draw the line.
Bobby Portis has like a negative plus
You,
minus right now. It's
you don't
wild.
realize that Bobby Portis is at like having the like one of the worst years I've ever seen.
Yeah. It's not great.
Oh, they
It's
got an
almost to the
incomplete
point where
bench over
people
there.
need.
Hey, so you think everybody's playing tomorrow, right?
Let's
Yeah,
hope.
yeah,
I
yeah.
think Potts twisted an ankle. Hopefully, it doesn't swell up overnight.
What's the point of playing this 12-man lineup and you know, if we're not going to try to win these games? You know what I'm saying? Not to say that we can't win the game if a guy or two sits, but bro, we should try to win the game. You know what I'm saying? Like if a guy is not hurt, let's not do the resting bullshit, bro. Like let's go and try to win these games. I feel like just based on how I watch the Western Conference beating up on each other right now, I feel like we can create legit separation if we really take this thing seriously. You know what I'm saying? Because from sixth place down all the way to 11th, everyone has like 7 L's. You know what I'm saying? I feel like we can create legit separation if we're actually serious. You know what I'm saying? And who knows what might happen at the deadline? Who knows what happens mid-year, right? And it's not like this time around we have to worry about working anyone in and doing that bullshit this time. So, I think we can really create some separation. If a guy is hurt or if he's even mildly hurt, sit him. If not, let's go, man. Because right now, in a 10th spot through what is this, 15 games. We have like a 4 game lead on like the ninth seed, you know what I'm saying? So let's really try to put the foot on the gas right now. And Steph traditionally doesn't have a good December, so let me see what they can do like the next couple of games, because we play some I think we play Minnesota like 3 times in the next couple of weeks or some shit like that. So I really need them to, one, tighten up on defense. Defense is going to be the key this year. And let me see what Pods looks like tomorrow. Tonight I think he had like a decent bounce back game. Um but the games before I was watching, he was trying to, he was trying to spread his wings, but sometimes, right place, right time. But once he stays within himself, plays solid defense, he'll be fine. I actually have no problem with Pods.
Yeah, he should play inside out because he's
Yeah,
he's looking pretty decent inside the arc. It's the outside part that's the problem. But if he can just get into a better flow attacking within that paint area and
yeah,
feel more comfortable, maybe his shot will get going as well.
yeah.
And they're still guarding him like he's a high 3-point shooter, so that's a good thing too.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think Steve Kerr is really trying to go through the roster because he looks at all these guys and he thinks, all right, I got 12 guys that I can play in my rotation. So I think he's going through the motions. He's trying to see what he can get out of these guys. I don't think he's going to stay with Lindy permanently. I think he's probably, getting a really good look before he makes a final decision,
yeah.
especially considering, Milton no longer being an option for him. So I think that's what he's doing, and then at some point he's going to evaluate and decide, okay, I'm going to use this guy at the shooting guard. So I think that's what he's working towards. But that being said, I think Pods kind of loses his flow with that second unit. I do think, I do want to see how he comes back when he, if he gets put into the two guard spot. I think he might flourish a bit more in that type of role just because of the way that offense itself flows and the way he plays. He's one of those guys that, really does the small things that or you don't really notice until like you're like, shit, look at this plus minus. And you go back and you watch the film and you're like, oh, he's getting those extra possessions. He makes his teammates better. A miss, ends up being a pause rebound, or he'll get you an assist, or he's active, on both ends of the floor. So everything he does kind of helps accentuate what your players on the floor are currently doing. So when you have him play next to a guy like Steph Curry and Draymond Green and the rest of the guys, Wiggins, I think he may be better able to find his groove there.
I don't
And
want
I
Pods
don't.
to be a starter. Like I think he's fine on the second unit. Um, uh, whoever it might be, Moody, Lindy, whoever. Uh, I still think they need to look at that spot. Bro, they just paid Moody, man. I mean, fuck, like,
I mean, yeah. The thing is, I mean, I like Moody. The problem is, like, I've seen some defensive lapses with Moody
yeah,
that, and while I think he can work through them, I feel like he needs some more time to be able to tighten up on those things. If he tightens up on that, I think Steve Kerr would keep him there. One of the other things, and Ricky G's pointed this out a couple of times, is that Moody doesn't really pass the ball unless he has to, and it's something that I've noticed, but when I did like his statistical analysis, I did see that his assists has have been kind of stagnant throughout his career, except it's gotten better this season. So even though I'm kind of highlighting it now, that aspect of his game has improved a bit.
hmm
All right, his defense has improved. All right, but there are still some shortfalls. Now, my thought about having Pods there next to Steph is to maximize what the Warriors can get out of him. I don't know if Pods is actively like saying, you know what, I'm not in the starting lineup. I'm gonna be a diva, or I'm not. I'm just gonna do bare minimum or whatnot. I can't say that, but I do know that he seems to play with more enthusiasm, and when he's playing next to Steph, because those second opportunities that he creates, you're more likely to get a basket out of it and stuff like that. So
yeah.
Yeah, so that would be the only thing. Almost the reverse of what you do with a guy like maybe Buddy Hield or Jonathan Kaminga by putting them on, on the second unit. So that's the only thing. Um, Other than that, though, I think if they do go forward and put their hand in the ring for DiVincenzo, they might be set with that position. Um, you know, Going through to the playoffs because they have Steph Curry. That put the point guard slot is obviously set. Wiggins, Draymond Green, those three guys are it. Can we put Looney at the five for the playoffs? All right. Can we get that production out of Kevon Looney to be an NBA Finals title contender? All right. And then we have that one spot open. And do we have a standout? I don't think we have a standout just yet,
Yeah.
but I do know that DiVincenzo would be that standout. That would give us a five that we can say, all right, this is our go to. Let's build up the chemistry with these guys and let's see if we can take this, get Steph Curry another chip, two chips, hell, maybe even three.
We'll see
So,
what other news come up because we can't so his we're talking about it because his name came up as a disgruntled piece, right? This is what I'm saying when it comes to pieces that eventually start to become available as the season continues, right? You don't know who's going to become available. There may very well be a player who's taller, more lengthy, can give you 3 and D, and this kind of player can. You know what I'm saying? So, but I think Dante definitely is in there as a possible potential
You know
fit
the
with the
only
Warriors.
reason
I've
why
really
I'm
seen that.
like I'm
Wait,
open to
whoa.
Dante.
Hold on, stop. Like this Dante conversation, like I get where you're all coming from, but who are we giving up in this scenario?
I don't know.
That's for the team to figure out. We don't need to play GM and everything else for this team. We
Yeah.
need to first identify
exactly.
what's needed.
But
Yeah.
here's why I'm open to Dante. Here's why. One, it's a midseason trade, right? I am very skeptical about getting the right guys in there, right? Like somebody always tells me that the best defense against Steph is somebody that the ball sticks in their hands. I 100% agree with that. That's the best defense against Steph. It's not any
Of
trap.
course.
It's not any
Of
double
course.
team. It's none of that, right? So the reason why I'm open to Dante is because Dante has played with Steph and he gets it. Dante gets the formula, right? So that's why I would be open up. I would be more than happy if we could get Dante. He is a connector. He can score